Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Freshly Pressed. Today we have with us, all the way from Boynton Beach, Florida, Paul Isa. Welcome to the show, Paul.
Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate you having me on.
Amazing. So, Paul, in your own words, tell us a bit about yourself. Give us a bit of origin story of you as a comic book reader and then a writer.
It all started when I was a wee lad. Yeah. No, as a reader, I think like most people, it kind of started when I was young, and it was actually comic books were something that was almost a bonding experience with my father and I. My dad having grown up, 50s and 60s, and being of the generation that thought that once you were a grown up, you were too old for comic books. So I think he was really excited to have a son who liked comic books so he could start reading comic books to me.
Yep.
And that was something we did long past the time when I could actually read them myself, just because it was a nice moment when the new comics came in to sit down, and do that together and have that sort of bonding experience. Um, and then I fell off a bit because, again, life gets in the way sometimes.
Mm.
And when I was in college and then a little bit after college, there were some things here and there I would pick up. I remember the Peter David Incredible Hulk novels, I think were my re-entry
Mm.
into the comics world.
Yeah,
And then,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, and then from there, I sort of went all things Hulk because that was always my favorite growing up. And I found the Future Imperfect graphic novel that Peter David and George Perez did. And
Mm.
And then I met my wife, and my wife has been working in conventions and known people in comics since she was a teenager. And so she's just started introducing me and bringing me to conventions, and I started getting to know people. And then I'm like, okay, well, it's kind of rude that I'm not like reading the things my friends are publishing. That's I can't. I'm a bad friend. I need to start reading these things more. So, and it just took off again from there.
That is so fantastic, fantastic, fascinating, and also like it's so amazing to have a partner who's able to do that.
It really
It's so
is.
amazing. Yeah,
Yeah, she's amazing for a lot of reasons.
amazing.
That's
So
that's actually pretty far down the list, but it
yeah, no, I totally hear you. I totally hear you. Yeah, amazing.
uh,
Cool. Uh, was Olympians your first project, or was Heroes and Zeros your first project?
right, yeah. So I kind of forgot the second part of your first question. That was a uh, very nice way to get me back to it. Heroes and Zeros was actually my first project, and getting into the creative side of things after kind of being around everybody that and being around the comics industry for a while. And I had a creative streak. I did a lot of creative things when I was younger. And again, life gets in
Mm.
the way. And I sort of fell off and never really had time to do it because I wasn't making time to do it. And I needed something. Like, as great as my life was, I wasn't doing anything that was something I did for me. And so I wanted to get back into
Mm,
creating, doing something like that. And it felt very natural to get into comics just because that's what I was surrounded by at that point in time. And I said,
mm,
I'm going
mm,
to try my hand at writing a comic book script and see if I can do it well. And that's where eventually Heroes and Zeros came from. And I think as any writer will tell you, as you're writing one story and trying to get that done start to finish, you have about 10 other ideas pop into your head of other things you'd like to do. And initially it's, oh, well, where can I fit this into my story? Because at that point, it's only the one story. And you start thinking about it and like, this needs its own. This needs to be separated out. And so I started taking down notes and jotting down ideas for things that I thought would be other fun stories to write. And
mm,
the Olympian was then the next project that I really focused on. Um,
mm. Yeah, that's fantastic. By the way, I can relate to your story of like bonding with your father, like via the medium of reading comics, because I actually do the same with my daughter. She's 8, and she can very well read at this point, and she's like, "Dad, can you read me Heroes and Zeros today? I really want to sit with you and read it." Okay, yeah.
I, I hope you're not just saying that because I'm on on the show right now, because I love hearing that.
No, no, really.
That's
No,
fantastic.
absolutely not. This is for
And I
real.
I hope she's looking forward to issue 2. It's coming very, very soon.
Yes, she is. No, she's a fan. She really liked the first issue of Olympian, and also Heroes and Zeros. So definitely looking forward to the new issues.
Well,
And
thank you. I love
I
hearing
did
that.
tell her that I'm interviewing you.
Oh.
So
I mean, if she has questions, she's welcome to come
awesome.
on in and
Yeah, I mean she's asleep now.
oh,
It's well past her bedtime.
okay.
But I'll make sure I'll pass them to you.
Okay. That sounds good. We can do a follow up.
Yes, absolutely, we must. Amazing, amazing. So tell us a bit about the Olympian, the story, and what's happened in issue 1 so far, without of course spoiling the story. Just give us a brief outline of what the Olympian is and what is it about.
Sure. So the Olympian follows Vasilis Meyer, who's a young man who's grown up in the town of Nifty, New Hampshire. Lived there his entire life. He's just with his friends, his family. Typical uh, small town northeastern United States, where nothing ever happens. And
Mm,
he's at his grandparents' house helping his grandmother clean out her attic, and discovers this marble, this circular marble thing with an engraving that looks kind of like the Parthenon from Greece. His family is of Greek descent, and he's like, okay, well, I guess I'll keep that as a souvenir. Must be something they got on their honeymoon when they went to Greece. It's kind of cool. Why not?
yep,
And
yep.
through a series of events discovers that this actually allows him to channel the powers of the Greek gods. Um, so after discovering this, he then learns that there's some other mysterious things going on in the town. Perhaps some other people or creatures who would like that talisman for themselves. Um, and again, I don't think we're you know given too much spoilers at this point based on some of the covers and promo art. But discovers both a talking squirrel and a minotaur.
Yep, yep.
Uh, so, little bit surprising.
Hmm.
And so issue 2 then picks up right where we left off, which is Vasilis in a none too advantageous position, with the Minotaur Asterion, who has apparently been searching for this talisman for centuries.
Nice,
And
nice.
so, as we go into issue 2, we're going to learn a little bit more about the talisman and about the lore. Um, we're going to learn, and again, spoilers, I guess, technically. He finds a way to get out of the situation. We're not gonna end the series on page 3 of issue 2. How he gets out of it, I'll let everybody discover themselves. But um, he gets out and he has to figure out how this is gonna how it works, what it does, and what does he now want his life to be. He has this thing that gives him extraordinary abilities,
Mm,
and all he ever
mm,
wanted to do was live his comfortable, quiet life in his hometown and work at his family's pizza
mm.
restaurant and hang out with his friends.
Yeah, yeah.
So he's got a big
That
decision
is.
coming,
Yep.
and what the decision is and how he gets to it. That's kind of where we go with issue 2, and also again, him figuring out what the talisman is and how to use it.
Mm, mm. Amazing. That's the crux of the story.
Yeah,
Very
that's it
cool
for
art,
issue 2.
by
And
the way.
again, as we keep going, the stakes keep going higher. They keep, there's going to be we're going to introduce new antagonists with each issue, and um, it gets bigger and bolder, and ultimately to what we hope is a very satisfying conclusion to this arc.
That is amazing. I have to come back to you with a question regarding the arc, but I want to show off the beautiful preview art that you've already
Ah,
put up.
thank you. Yeah.
So,
Let's. I'm just gonna ask. Let's not
amazing.
scroll too far down because again, I do want to leave a little bit of a surprise for how he gets out of the situation. So
Yes.
this
No,
is
I'll just leave it here
yeah. This
and
is the
let people
follow up.
gush on the beautiful page.
Page 1 of issue 2. We leave off, or we start up right where we left off in issue 1. Um, this is all the beautiful line art by D Fish, and we're working on the colors as we speak.
Amazing, amazing. Can you? Okay, cool. So, is the book going to be in color? Is it
Yes.
like all color? Was yeah, cool, awesome,
Yeah, I'm
fantastic.
gonna keep both of these Heroes and Zeros and the Olympian. We started in color. We're gonna go full color the whole way through. It what I've found is from a preview standpoint, it's easier to focus on getting more of the line art done and the letters done, and then we can
Mm,
get a reasonable preview out to people.
mm,
And then from there you can add in the colors. The colors can come in towards the end, and it's easy enough to move the letters over to the newly colored pages. At least that's what
yeah.
the letters have all told me. So if they're lying to me and I'm actually making their life difficult, I apologize to all letterers out there.
Colors are so hard. Like it's such an underrated skill. Like just doing that flat, and then doing the
Hmm.
layers of colors requires so much patience. It's like as an artist, like for an artist, I'm always like in awe of how much effort it takes to build these pages, all from like penciling to line to colors. But the colors especially are it's like, for the lack of better term, it's actually a boring thing to do. It's not the most exciting thing to do, but it's so important to get that right, and the impact that it has on the page is just phenomenal. So, like, hats off to anyone just doing colors, like that. It is, it's not an easy thing to do.
No, I mean, well, to me, none of that is the easy thing to do. The easy thing is the writing. I can tell, like, give me the stories all day. I'm good with that. But the artwork from first pencil on, it just blows my mind how talented some of these folks are.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Amazing. Coming back to my question regarding the arc, so specifically regarding Olympian, how far along have you already planned it? And then I'll come
So,
back to your writing process after. But yeah, let's talk about that first.
yeah, this is planned as a 5-issue arc. So we've got,
Okay.
subject to, of course, to additional edits as we go, because I don't have the editor and publisher over my head saying no, you're done. So basically, it's going to keep getting edited until it's published. But I've got, I think, issue 3 is finished. Issue 4 is about halfway, and I've got the outline all the way through to some of the best advice I picked up several years ago. And it's one of those things that for people who've been doing this for a while is probably a very, you know, comic writing 101 piece of advice. But, the reason you take comic writing 101 is because you haven't taken you don't know anything about it to begin with. Um,
Mm,
is,
mm,
when you're starting an arc, a story, however long it's going to be, you need to know where you're starting. You need to know where that first page is going to be. You need to know what that
mm,
last page and that last panel is going to be, and need to know a
mm,
few key beats in between, and
mm,
everything else in between all that can change. You can
mm,
alter it, you can take the story in a slightly different direction. As long as you end up in that same place that you wanted to end up in, it's going to stay consistent. You're going to have a lot fewer problems. So I already know what that last
mm,
page, that last panel of issue 5 of the Olympian is going to be. Um,
mm,
it's just a matter of you know getting there between issue you know 3 and 5 to make it a really satisfying payoff.
mm, mm. That's fantastic. That's fantastic. Because my next question was about, you already half answered my question, the follow up one, which is great. Because I wanted to ask you about what's your process of, like, approaching a story or writing an arc. So you already half answered it, but, like, how do you plan your characters? And, like, like, because obviously with some of the, I don't know if you're doing that, but some of the Kickstarter campaigns and crowdfunding campaigns, they have, like, like, these rewards where they have people, like, people draw into their comic, and that kind of thing.
Right.
I don't know if you're doing that or not, but
Yeah,
those ones are slightly harder to plan, but, like, yeah.
they are, and so far we haven't done that just because I feel like that might be a little. I don't want to do that to the artists. Um, maybe at some point down the line, maybe that's something we'll look into doing. Um, but we've pretty much stuck with, like, I'm just going to let the artists do what they do as far as that goes. With the characters, I start by, once I have a good idea of what the story is going to be,
Mm,
and who the protagonist is going to be, I try and think of what kinds of characters around them could be interesting that would really push the story along, and both help them and challenge them along the way in a way that's going to well, yeah, I'd love to say in a way that's going to resonate with readers, but it's really more in a way that will be fun for me to write.
Yeah, 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 yeah. That's a great idea. That's a great idea.
You know,
I have to note it for my next one.
well, and as far as the look goes, and this, I may be different from a lot of writers on this, but with very, very few exceptions, I don't tell the artists what these characters should look like. I say, here's
Yeah.
personality, here's the name, here is the story that I've written with them. Who are you picturing when you're reading that?
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, I 100% agree with you on this. Like, I even my instructions to, for the lack of better term, instructions, but like my descriptions for characters to the artists are usually their character traits. Like, this person is, say, like happy-go-lucky, or that kind of thing, but rather than describing how they actually look. And I let the yeah, I think that's a great way to do it, because artists almost always make it better than
A
what you
hundred
had
percent,
originally, right?
yes. Well, and it's also a good way to. I feel like it's a good way to kind of mitigate our blind spots as writers. Everybody doing this, we have our blind spots. We have the things that we're, just based on our own experiences. Well, I'm sort of thinking of this person I knew in a way when I'm writing it, but you don't. Again, look. I mean, like I say, I grew up a little bit in New Hampshire. New Hampshire is a very, very there's not a lot of diversity up there. Let's just say, but I want to have more diversity in my comics. So I don't want to. On
Mm,
one hand, I don't want to just leave that out, but on the other hand, I don't want
mm,
to try and pigeonhole, like, we're going to have someone of this background and this, like, we're going to have this and this and this. Let's let the characters tell the artist who they are,
mm, mm,
and then the artist's perspective comes into play, and then you're kind of mixing their perspective, my perspective, even in some cases the colorist's perspective, because we're
mm,
not, the artist on these comics isn't necessarily deciding what color hair or what color skin or anything like that these characters have. Like I said, with a few rare exceptions that are always tied to the story. The only
mm,
times I will dictate that is, and it's more so in the Olympian than in Heroes and Zeros, but the Olympian with, you've got this small New Hampshire town. Of course, it's going to be very, like, largely white population in this small New Hampshire town. When the
mm,
story gets a little bigger, through issues 3 through 5, we're going to see a lot more diverse cast. Um,
mm,
but we have Greek mythology. We already have a little bit of Native American mythology mixed in there. There will be some other mythologies mixed in there. So
nice.
but in some of those circumstances, it's kind of important that the person who's, tied to that mythology, be kind of from that culture. So those are really the instances where I've been saying, okay, we need to make sure that this person is of this background or this background.
Mm, mm. That's very nice. I think that's a great way to do it. Awesome. I want to ask you a few more questions regarding the campaign, because by the time this video will go up, the campaign will be live. So I
Yes,
want you to, yeah, want to give people a bit of background on what are the reward tiers like, and what can they expect as backers, in terms of rewards.
absolutely. So we've got our standard, we got our digital tier. We have just the single comic book with the main cover that you showed earlier, that was drawn by D Fish, our co-creator, series artist, with colors by our colorist Ibrahim Aydin. We have another cover that we just released earlier this week by an artist named Boya, which is a very different style, but just very dynamic, and he just really nailed the art that that we wanted for that cover. So two very different but equally incredible covers that you could choose from for a single. We've got, I think, a package that has um, a copy of issue one as well, a physical copy of issue one, plus uh, I think once you get into the bundles, we're kind of leaning into the Olympic theme with this, and we're naming the bundles by bronze, silver, and gold, and each of them are going to have each of those packages are going to have one of the um, limited edition coins that we've got for this issue. We did that with the first issue, and we had an antique bronze coin of the Talisman of Olympus. I actually have
Nice.
I actually have I had a live stream earlier this week that I just completely botched this, but I because I didn't have them. I thought I had them in my pocket and I didn't. But this is the Talisman of Olympus coin, if we can see that, that we got
Yeah.
that we did for
Wow,
last
that's
year's campaign.
fabulous.
Now, so the one we got for this year's campaign, we're doing an antique silver coin featuring Asterion. And I'm trying to see if you can see the detail, but it's the same artwork
Yeah.
as on the on page 5 of issue 2. There's a picture of Asterion down in the
Wow.
corner of the page, and so we use
Mm.
that artwork for the coin. Um, so we've got those tiers. So we got the tier that has the um, issue 1 and issue 2. We have a tier with both covers available. We have a tier, I think the gold
Hmm.
medal tier, and this is the one that's going to have the biggest early bird discount, is going to be both covers of issue 2, one of the Asterion coins, and one of the
Mm.
T-shirts we're going to be putting with the campaign. Um, so we've got two designs of a T-shirt. One of them has the talisman. The other one has um, the artwork of Asterion sort of reaching towards you from the first cover, from issue 1 cover. Both of them with the Olympian logo on them, and so anyone who gets those will be able to choose which design they want, sizes, all that kind of stuff. Always like to try new stuff with these campaigns because
Nice.
you never know what's going to resonate with people. Um,
That's true.
we've got a retailer tier. We have a patron tier. So if you really believe in what we're doing and have a little extra cash, you can you can pick the patron tier, and basically that'll lock you in and give you a copy of everything we do for the next 5 years.
Mm.
Um, so
That's awesome.
just trying to help keep things moving along a little bit quicker. So um, and then we've got a few other things going on with it. I'm trying to think if I've got anything else that I'm forgetting, but check out the campaign. It's all going to be right there.
Yep. Check out the campaign. Um, cool. Awesome. That's a good. That's a really good. I love those coins, by the way. They're such a
Hey,
good.
those I liked the idea. I was honestly surprised by how many people loved the coin last year, and that's at this
Nice.
point I think we're kind of locked in, and we're going to be doing one for each issue. And now I just got to figure out what we're going to do once after we get to the gold. We're going to have to come up with something else, but you know
That is true. You have to. Yeah. You have to find a new metal after that.
Right. Something else we can do with whether it's a coin or my original idea was I was trying to figure out a way to do an actual like marble or faux marble version of the talisman because
Oh
it's
yeah,
in the
nice.
story it's made out of the same marble as the Parthenon.
Mm,
So I
mm.
would have loved to do just like a little, and I was looking at like marble coasters that were engraved and just nothing quite got the combination of quality and reasonable price point. Uh, and
Yeah,
that's where we ended up going with the coin. But the coin was fantastic.
yeah. I can actually see spot something. So you know the brooch on Vasilis cape,
Hmm.
the thing that holds it together. I think that could be like a good piece of merchandise that we can put
Possibly,
into
yeah,
campaigns.
yeah, maybe that's a good idea. Yeah, that's we
Cool.
do have the debut of the actual hero costume in this issue, so that's exciting for us.
Nice. That costume is really cool, by the way. I love. Um, I'm a fan of Spawn as well,
Okay.
and Cape has such a huge personality in Spawn. Uh, I always love a good cape that's like a wraparound and like like this cape has a lot of personality. It is what I'm saying, and that's what I'm
Yes.
loving about the costume. So yeah, yeah,
Oh yeah, D did D always does a great job. I say that like 5 times every time I get in an interview, but D just always knocks it out of the park.
yeah, nice, amazing. We're doing a bit of a detour and from the Olympian for a few moments, and we're going back to your pop culture roots. Before I get into the actual question, I want to ask you a very controversial question.
All right.
Which is your favorite Hulk movie out of all of the Hulk movies?
Are we limiting it to the ones that are titled Hulk, or are we including like the representation of Hulk in other movies?
That's a good question. I would say let's keep all of them. But like for me, yeah, okay, let's keep all of them. And
Okay,
let's say
I'm going to give you the controversial
yeah,
answer.
okay.
I love
Okay.
I love Smart Hulk.
You love the Smart Hulk. The
And
okay,
and it
cool.
goes
Tell me why.
that goes back to those Peter David novels I was telling you about earlier because that's kind of in those stories the Hulk had already figured out how to kind of merge the two aspects of his personality, and you have the brilliance of Banner along with the strength and endurance and everything else that makes Hulk such a powerful hero. But at the same time, and this is the part where I think that leads us to my absolute favorite Marvel villain who has been criminally underused, which is the Maestro.
Mm, mm.
And again, going back to that first run on Future Imperfect with the Maestro, like it's just such a I guess when you're talking comic books, you use the word plausible very loosely, but it is such a plausible scenario when you have somebody like a Bruce Banner and a smart Hulk then who is smarter than everybody and stronger than everybody and he's dedicated to being good and being a hero and humanity just keeps
Mm,
coming at him and coming at him and coming at him. And it's the military,
mm,
it's the other
mm,
heroes, it's he's too dangerous, he's too this, he's too that. And based on his powers, he's virtually immortal.
mm.
So at some point, seeing him break and just say, screw it, I'm in charge now.
Mm, mm,
Stop me if you
mm.
can. I'm in charge. I'm going to do what I want. I'm tired of all this crap. you know, and then, again, the plot of Future Imperfect where they have to come back and get him while he's still good to come to the future and defeat himself is just I just absolutely love the storyline and all the kind of deep psychological uh, threads that it weaves in there.
Yeah, yeah. That does sound fantastic to me. I quite love it. I don't think your answer is controversial at all. I think a lot of people really like Smart Hulk, and I know it got a bit of backlash when it first came, uh, because it was completely like Hulk was not a tortured soul anymore, and it did. But if you've read enough comics and if you understand
That's
Bruce Banner's personality,
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, I think it gets the backlash from the greater public, like not the comics crowd at large. So I think a lot of people who are really into comics know that storyline and understand where it goes and where it came from. But like, come on, growing up for me, like my introduction to the Hulk was Lou Ferrigno, and I think
I
for
know, I know.
a huge part of the population, that's just what the Hulk is this big angry brute who still has that little conscience, has got his little Jiminy Cricket in his head that tells him to do good things, even though he's this big angry
Yeah,
brute,
yeah,
you know. And so he's misunderstood, even though he's kind of out there causing trouble without knowing that's what he's doing. Um, but yeah, I think that I mean, there's so many good storylines to tell with each version of the character, and it's one of the reasons I don't ever get too hung up on, you know, oh well, I don't care for what they're doing with this version of the character or that, because especially in like these legacy comics that we're talking about, 50, 60, 100
yeah,
years almost of history, if you don't change up what you're doing with the character every now and again, it's going to get stale. It's going to get stale fast.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, every comic book character has gone through 1,000 iterations, and like,
Yeah.
like they've done everything.
Yeah, I'm not going to get
They've
wrong.
died
I'm
and
not going
come
to get
back a
angry at
thousand
somebody.
times.
I'm not going to get angry at somebody because they're not following my, preferred fiction.
Yeah,
It's,
yeah, exactly, exactly. Yeah. I like a few years ago, my opinion on Hulk movies was counted as controversial because I absolutely love Ang Lee's Hulk. I absolutely adore that movie because of it treats Hulk with so much care. The character, it just gives it so much love.
yep.
Uh, Obviously, it's a very traditional, quote unquote, look at the character because it's like a Greek tragedy. It's treated like that, and
Yeah.
and uh,
I quite enjoyed
it,
that
it,
movie.
it is a very like, yeah,
But I mean,
the
look,
claims
and
of
there,
people calling it boring.
that's it. I mean, it was a slower pace for sure, but slow pace doesn't always mean boring. Some people equate that. Some people want the like we see Hulk smashing from the very first shot, and that's not what they were going for with it. And I think it was a very, very well done movie. I really enjoyed it. But I'm also not the one I'm not necessarily holding any of these movies, Marvel, DC, any of it, to Academy Award standards. Frankly, I enjoy them far more than most Academy Award movies. But
Yeah,
like, I mean, shoot, I'm not afraid to admit it. I enjoyed the original Fantastic Four movie, like the Michael Chiklis, Jessica Alba, Chris Evans as Human Torch. You know, I actually
it
it
does
was
the
a
job.
it was a fun movie. It
Yeah.
wasn't perfect, I'm sure, and I'm sure that people who are really huge Fantastic Four fans might have had issues with it. I've never that's never been my like big team. I've never really followed the Fantastic Four in a huge way, so I didn't have like an emotional attachment to some version of those characters. Um, but look, if you're making a comic book movie, it's going to be fantasy. It can be silly if you want it to be. It
Yeah.
can be very serious if you want it to be. As long as you do it well
Yeah.
and it's fun and interesting to watch, I'll watch it. I'll probably watch it twice.
Exactly. Exactly. You actually gave a really good example. So my memory of Fantastic Four is actually I never read Fantastic Four comics growing up. I was more of a DC person, you know.
Yep.
And for me, the only memory of Fantastic Four was the Saturday morning cartoons that we
Yep.
used to get. So I used to have those VHS tapes of of Fantastic Four cartoons, and that movie worked perfectly for me because my memory of Fantastic Four was silly Saturday morning cartoons.
Yeah.
It was perfectly fine.
Yeah. It was. And you know what? It might not hold up as well now. I haven't watched it in a long time. I don't know how well I would like it now after, we've been through the MCU and we've seen Marvel do some really, really excellent movies. Um,
Yep.
but I have a hard time going back and thinking of a movie that came out that I just, like a mainstream superhero movie that came out that I just really was like, nah, I hated it.
Yeah.
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 Now, again, in fairness, there's
Yeah.
some that I just haven't watched because I'm not attached to the characters, and I heard not even good things from people who don't generally trash comics and comic movies. Like, I'll tune out the noise from the people who are going to review bomb everything, but like I've got a few trusted
Mm.
sources, and when they're like, "Yeah, I made it through about 23 minutes of Madam Web," and you know, I'm gonna take your word for it.
Yep. 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 Exactly. No. I mean that was a very different time, of course, like
Hmm.
early 2000s for superhero movies. They were campy and they were fun. I mean, I loved Ghost Rider movie when it first came out. You know,
Sure.
Nicolas Cage was really good for that part, and you know, I didn't mind it at all. People hated it, and they were like, "Oh, that Daredevil movie was absolute trash."
Yeah.
It was fun. I
Yeah,
don't
it,
know.
it it wasn't great, but it wasn't. But yeah, it definitely
No.
had its moments and it had its fun parts. I mean, I love that. Michael Clark Duncan as Kingpin was brilliant. Um,
Brilliant. Yeah.
but that was back at a time where people didn't think you could do live action superhero content well. Do you remember what changed it, or at least what I think changed it? It the show
What
Heroes.
did? What?
The show Heroes.
Ah,
That came
that
out
is
and it was
true.
at least the first season of that, and to me I think the first two seasons, maybe even the first three, like and it did the show did
Mm,
kind of drop off progressively with each season, but I think the first three at least were solid. um,
mm,
but that first
mm.
season was kind of a revelation, I think, for the comic book crowd, because you had this world of superpowers and like evolving and emerging heroes and villains, and the show was done in such a good way, such a well done way, and people loved it. People who weren't
Yeah.
just weekly comic shop goers were really
Mm,
into this show,
mm. Yeah.
and I think that kind of kicked
I,
off the higher quality TV and movie versions of these characters. And I can't remember
mm,
where the Arrowverse came in the timeline compared to like between Heroes and then Iron Man being the first big MCU movie. Um, but
mm,
the Arrowverse
mm,
was another big part of that too.
mm. But is Arrowverse DC or Marvel?
Yeah,
I
Arrowverse is
thought that was
DC.
DC.
With
Okay.
Green Arrow, The Flash, Supergirl, those
Yeah,
shows
yeah,
that
yeah.
they did.
The whole CW thing is so good. Like I absolutely love
They
the
were. I
Flash
love those
CW
shows.
series. Yeah, yeah. My wife and I were addicted to Supergirl. Like we were like we
Yeah.
just couldn't get enough of it.
Yeah, you're looking forward to the movie though. Going to be a lot different.
Yeah, I am. I love that book. I love
Oh, books are fun.
Woman of Tomorrow. It's such a good book.
God,
Yeah.
that is, you know, as as great a writer as Tom King is, and I know that DC probably wants him working on, ongoing series because he is so well known at this point and he's one of their big draws.
Mm,
Just let
mm.
the man write his maxi series. Like he just if he's got the time to sit down and write that 12 issue series, handpick the artist for it, he doesn't
Mm.
miss. Like it, yeah, he just doesn't.
No. Yeah. I 100% agree on that. I 100% agree on that. Yeah. I mean, I don't think we need top five pop culture things that you like. I think we already listed more than that.
Pop culture. That's getting into, uh, you know, I have a 6-year-old, so you know, I, I'm very familiar with the pop culture of 6'7", 6'7". And unlike most parents of 6-year-olds, it's not nails on a chalkboard to me. We kind of embraced it because what the hell, it's silly and it makes him laugh. Sure, why not? Um,
Exactly. Exactly.
but
Exactly.
we also, you know, he's starting now to find music that he likes on his own, and it's very, some of it we've not been familiar with before he asks us about it, and he it's very diverse. He likes the K-pop Demon Hunters, and he also likes Linkin Park. So I think we're doing a good job as parents from that standpoint.
Nice. That's a good range to have.
Exactly. So that's really my pop culture reference right now is anything filtered through my 6-year-old.
That's nice. Yeah. I mean, K-pop Demon Hunters is crazy. Like my like for
It shouldn't have
past
been that good.
whatever time that no, I hum those songs like while doing chores or doing stuff. Like I'm like
Eh.
I'm not supposed to like this, but I love it. Like I can't stop liking it.
No. Step back there. There is no you're not supposed to like this. There's none of that. Like what you like. That's the whole point of
That is
that's
true.
the whole point of comics at this point. Like I'm not supposed to like comics. I'm a 49-year-old man. I love comics. They bring me joy. Nobody's going to tell me any
That is
different.
true.
So, but
That is true.
it it's damn catchy music, and it was a good movie.
It is. Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
there,
exactly.
it's w-
That is true. That is true. Amazing. Amazing. We're coming close to time, Paul, but before we go, I would love for you to take the stage and give an elevator pitch of the book, The Olympian, and why should people back it?
all right. So the Olympian. Why should you back it other than because you just find me very charming, and you want to see me on more of these podcasts and smiling and happy. Um, the Olympian it's a fun story. It's told through a slightly different lens than most superhero stories. The best comparisons I can get is kind of like Percy Jackson meets Ben 10. Um, And there's a lot of influence. If anyone's ever watched the show Troll Hunters on Netflix, if you haven't, go watch it. It's one of the best animated shows I've ever watched. There is a lot of influence from Troll Hunters, um, as far as kind of the storytelling and the beats and that. But you've got small town drama, you've got mythical creatures, you've got superpowers, you have danger, you have a hidden world that our hero must protect all his loved ones from. It's a fun story. It's an exciting story. It's appropriate for, well, you have a slightly older child than I do, so I always struggle with ages. I always say, like, there's nothing in there that I don't think is particularly inappropriate for him. I just don't know if he would necessarily find the story too exciting because it's not really written for a little kid story. But
Mm,
it's not
mm,
inappropriate. So I always say 12 plus, but I don't think there's anything particularly inappropriate for younger. Um,
yeah,
and I think it's great for adults too. I think adults will enjoy it just as much.
yeah. I think it's a good book. I really enjoyed it. I think a lot of kids and teens would enjoy it. I think it. I get the appeal of why like someone from 12 to 18 would enjoy this book because I think you have already put them in like put the lead character, the protagonist is kind of like slightly grown up but has a similar kind of internal issues and like turmoil that like teens and young people go through. So I think that that's very relatable. And yeah, I think it's a very fun book. Beautiful
Well,
art, good
thank you.
writing.
Yeah, the art is, if for no other reason, buy it for the art because yeah, I can take no credit for that other than the fact that I knew Dee and I convinced her to come on board with me.
Just look at this page. I'm still gushing how beautiful it is. The line work.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
don't even need colors. It's really good. It's perfect as it is. So,
Maybe one day we'll do a full black and white version.
yeah, why not? That's a good idea. Amazing. But thanks a lot for coming on the show, Paul. I really appreciate your time today, and all the best for the campaign. We hope it's a big success. Do remember to back the Olympian, everybody, and yeah, thanks again.
Thank Thank you so much. If I can put one more thing out there, easy to find the campaign. Just go to olympiancomic.com.
Awesome. Olympiancomic.com.
That's it. Yep,
Awesome.
we got the domain, and it just redirects right to the Kickstarter page.
Perfect. That's perfect. Amazing. So thanks again. And until next time, everybody, stay gold.